All right, everyone, welcome back to another speedrun showcase as part of Disability Awareness Month. As a reminder, throughout the month of October, we'll be featuring speedruns by disabled speedrunners to help promote the Able Gamers Foundation, because October is Disability Awareness Month. Today we have a speedrun of Titanfall 2 by GameOn18, and if you have a game that you'd like to run as part of Disability Month, just type that out in chat. It's !Disability Month, and there's a form you can fill out if you'd like to participate. As a quick reminder, games list for HDQ 2020 comes out on the 6th. The first wave of registration also opens on the 7th. You can find information about both of those at gamesdonequick.com. Make sure you stay tuned after this, because we're going to do a quick switchover after this run to the first episode of The First Step immediately after this speed run, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So, Brian Otto, GameOn18, how you two doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
I'm doing pretty good. I am nervous, but I think I am ready.
What would you like to tell our viewers about Titanfall 2 before we get started? Like, give us the quick and lowdown on this speed run.
You want to take this one game on? You want me to?
Okay, I'll try. So, Titanfall 2 is a sci-fi first-person shooter game with a very fun campaign that I will be running. I think it's like part of a modified source engine, which means there's air strafing, bee hops, etc. Right, your turn.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, it's running on modified source, and so we have some holdovers from previous source games. So like if you've seen a Half-Life run, you're probably familiar with air strafing, where people are moving in a curve through the air to subvert the speed cap that's there. And so, and on top of that, we also have a very deep parkour system. So when this game is being played at speed, it kind of looks like Mirror's Edge meets Half-Life. We're going to have the ability to double jump and to wall run, and there's a lot of little both intended and unintended movement mechanics that we're going to be able to take advantage of all throughout the run.
All right. Sounds good. Is there anything else you'd like to cover before we get started?
I think I'm good if you are game on, yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, so let's switch over to your feed.
Responsible for Apex. Sure, go for it.
We're not getting audio. 1 second.
Okay. Responsible for Apex. Sure, go for it.
We're not getting audio. 1 second. Game on.
Yeah.
Hang on. We're gonna swap away real quick and just try and fix this real quick, and we'll get right back into the speed run.
Thanks for your patience, everyone.
Swap away real quick.
The most basic movement mechanic in the game is that we can bunny hop with from a crouching position. Nope, no audio here. Okay.
Yeah, I put your audio live. I'm going to try and figure out why his audio isn't coming through.
Yeah, streaming's really hard, guys. We appreciate your patience throughout the audio issues and everything like that. Are we good? Audio back. All right, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, because I
cool,
unmuted you.
Okay.
Finally.
They just won't hear your game sound right now.
I'll try and catch you guys up right now. So this first mission in the game takes place in a simulation, and so because of that, we are not able to die, which is really fortunate for us because we're able to basically throw a bunch of grenades at ourselves to cause a bunch of explosions, and those explosions thus boost us forward. So audio good. Okay. Yeah. This is developed by the people that made Apex Legends, so it's going to look a bit like it. Yeah. We're going to exit and re-enter the gauntlet, which is going to skip some dialogue that Lastimosa has here. So
It didn't work.
oh yeah, he does that sometimes. If you enter and then or exit and then re-enter the gauntlet, what'll happen at times is Lastimosa just doesn't stop talking. There's a really weird bug with the gauntlet there.
All right, I'm going to try and get us game
So
feed.
anyway, Titanfall 2 has a really deep movement system. Trust me, guys, we are working on the game audio issue, so we'll get there. But I'm just going to keep giving you guys commentary as if you guys could hear it. So just imagine that you're hearing the sound of grenades exploding and guns shooting and everything.
All right, I'm going to switch this over here. Hopefully this works. Cross your fingers.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to think of where we even are now, or like where to even go. So Titanfall 2, source engine, air strafing, bunny hopping, parkour system. We're being introduced to like our Titan here, but we're not going to be able to play in our Titan until well into the next level. To give some context as for what's going on within the game, so we are Rifleman Jack Cooper. We're just a regular militia grunt. We're fighting for the militia, which is a rebellious military force that's fighting back against the IMC, or Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation. These are this big, evil kind of corporate conglomerate that goes from planet to planet across the frontier, and they brief the planet of their resources and drive people from their homes. So we're the people that said, enough! We're fighting back against it. That guy in front of us right there is Captain Lastimosa. He is a pilot for the militia. Pilots are this super elite infantry force. We don't know why he's training us, and we're not going to find out because he's going to die. Shout outs to Railcoon for figuring out the audio there. We appreciate that. Thanks, man. And yeah, after this we are off to the next level. So this is a great little introductory segment where we get to meet all the characters that we're gonna, or quite a few characters that we'll see later on, both alive and dead. So now we're on to BT7274. So this level is difficult it's very difficult for a lot of different reasons. And we'll get to those, but I guess I'll deliver some context as to what's going on right now. So the IMC were developing some sort of technology on this planet that we were approaching, and so we were going to go figure out what was going on, but they were super heavily and well defended, and the militia bit off more than they can chew, and now we are crash landing behind enemy lines. This is a great little intro sequence, again, with tons of foreshadowing. As we fall down here, you'll actually be able to see the final location in the game as we approach it. So this level is pretty difficult for a lot of different reasons. We're not going to have access to all of our pilot movement, which we'll get to for quite a bit. And there's going to be, we're crash landing in this kind of really thick forested area. And it's there's a lot of different rocks and bumps and geometry, and the geometry in this game is really specific. So if you hit any one of those little bits, it's going to be very hard. And so after we crash land here, we're going to wake up, and this this little drop pod that we have is going to pump us full of drugs, so we're ready to fight, get us back on our feet. And the first little skip in the game is going to be coming up right here. There's going to be a drop pod that's going to crash land right behind us, and we have to go fast enough so that we can actually bypass the drop pod. If we don't go fast, then we die, and it's bad news. And this is always a little bit difficult, this segment right at the start, primarily because we don't have access to any of our pilot movement, and any little mistake is very punishing.
Time to be the speedy boy.
Time to be the speedy boy. Yeah, there's a little bit of randomness here, just the slightest bit with the grunt positions, but normally it's not too bad. You can just kind of walk right around him, but there's like maybe one in every 100 runs or so when a grunt will kind of walk in your way and make things a little bit scary. So we got through there pretty easily. You can probably hear the drop pod crash landing behind him. And now we're on to the infamous 18-hour cutscene. So this cutscene is, unfortunately, right at the start of the game. This is kind of like the Super Mario Sunshine of FPS games, where it has this insanely deep movement system, but there's this long, unskippable cutscene at the start. There's Lastimosa. He's the guy that was training us back in the drop pod. He just saved us just in time. He's going to pump us full of some more drugs, and then we'll get introduced to our main adversaries in the game. So we're being introduced to the Apex Predators, and yes, the Apex Predators, just like the ones that start the Apex Legends tournament, they're this elite mercenary force that was hired by the IMC to protect whatever it is they were working on here, and we get to meet all 3 of them, or I guess all 4 of them, or 5 of them? We get to meet a lot of them during this cutscene, so...
Real quick here,
yeah.
Would you pause and take down the game audio just a little bit? We had to switch our audio setup a little bit last second, and... You're fine, Brio. What's overpowering game on just a little bit.
Okay.
Is that a bit better?
Take it down in OBS a little bit, probably, too, and it'll be fine. Sorry for all the troubles. We had an audio set up, and it decided it didn't want to work right before we started the show, so we had to switch to a backup. Once we get this going, we should be good for the rest of the run, though. So thanks, everybody, for sticking with us.
Thanks, you guys.
Is it good now?
It should be good. Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go. Cool. Yeah, Titanfall 2 is a Source game. That's correct. Titanfall 2 is absolutely a Source game. It's heavily modified Source, but we do have the access to the Source movement there. And here is the dialogue that this cutscene is known for, coming up here from Blisk.
We have 18 hours. 18 hours until the Ark is sealed and ready for delivery.
So we're getting to meet all the Apex Predators that we'll be fighting later on. Ash walked by in the background, you got Sloan off to the left, Richter in the middle, and Blisk featuring the beautiful voice acting of JB Blanc right there in the back. If you're going for like a world record time of this game, most players are playing on Mandarin now, which is the fastest language for the game. And the worst part of that is you don't get to listen to JB Blanc anymore, and it's very, very sad. So anyway, we're almost ready to get the run started. We just have to walk over here to wait for Lastimosa to die, and then we'll be ready to get going. So I think it definitely speaks to how great of a speed game Titanfall 2 is, that we have this long cutscene here at the beginning, yet we have like well over 100 runs submitted on speedrun.com, which is not very common at all. So there's BT, that is Lastimosa's Titan. He will soon be our Titan. We'll be getting introduced to him at the end of this level in particular. What's happening here in terms of the Titanfall universe is actually pretty huge. Like I mentioned before, Lastimosa is he's a pilot, which is like the elite of the elite. It's an infantry unit that undergoes an obscene amount of training, very low graduation rate, and what he's doing is he's transferring control of all of his pilot gear, which is going to allow us to move like we want, and his Titan to Jack Cooper, and so that is completely unheard of.
Take my Titan. Use my helmet in my
And so once we put on the helmet here, the run is really going to get started. It takes off. So the main thing to keep in mind is we normally have a double jump, but we're not going to be given a double jump until about halfway through this level. That's going to make any mistake that happens here pretty punishing, because there's generally a lot of mistakes that you can cover with the use of the double jump. When the run starts, there is conveniently a little wall right behind us. So we're going to walk backwards and jump onto the wall and then jump off of it, and that skips having to wait for the game to give us a sprint ability. So when we hold crouch, we'll be given a slide boost, and we can jump out of that slide boost and keep jumping indefinitely, and pair that with air strafing, we can almost never lose speed.
Okay, so thank you. Right off the bat here, we're going to pick up the Ava shotgun. We're going to be going very fast and going into people's faces, so the shotgun is pretty useful in that aspect. This beginning level is very difficult. There's a bunch of weird geometry, and like that, very
Yeah.
beginning jump.
Yeah, that section right there is like super awkward because you want to take 3 jumps there, but it's positioned where like you can clear it in about 2 jumps. So that's a pretty common mistake to make, is like the distance between those areas.
Okay, you usually can only jump on a wall once, but if it's curved like this, we can do a little thing like that, which lets us skip that entire room.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice skip. It saves around like 10 seconds over the casual route.
So over here is I messed it up. Death River, very difficult to new people. Oh gosh.
Yeah, Death River is named for its difficulty. The route through here looks about as hard as it is. We only have 1 jump through here, and this gap across the river is just over the distance of the jump that we can make, assuming we had the ability to, or assuming we like sprint and jump.
Okay.
So getting across here smoothly is no small task.
Okay. I'm usually not this bad. There we go.
It's a marathon run. These things happen. Yeah, there you go. Well done, dude.
Then coming up here is when we finally get to use our double jump. We're going to cloak here to not draw the attention of these 2 prowlers. Then we've got double jump right here so we can jump across that gap.
Nice,
mantle.
dude. Well done. There's a little bit of the first boss fight of the game's coming up here with these 2 barrels. I guess. Oh, actually, wait. Because you died, that actually resets the barrel RNG, so you're super good to go. I forgot about that. Yeah, that helps. There we go. Nice. Yeah, have you ever experienced
did not know
the
that.
barrels? Yeah, it's really weird.
Here we have the first battery out of 2 that we need to grab and get back to BT so he can regain the power that he lost during that fight. And here we have an attempt of a slant boost, which is where you kind of do a slide hop on a very sharp angled surface. I messed that up. And if you hit it at the right angle, it gives you a significant speed boost, which we can use to jump across that entire gap. Here we have Boom Boom River Jump, which I actually did. Okay.
You going for Boom Boom River Jump? Holy cow! I didn't know you were going for that strat. That's so sick. I thought you were just gonna do. You got the wall kick too? What the heck? You're a madman. Dude,
My success rate on that is not the highest, so I'm very happy.
I'm popping off, dude. Yeah, I thought you were just gonna do the regular river jump. I didn't know you were doing the frag boost variant. That's so sick.
So that was Ravines, I believe it's called. It's a bunch of chained wall kicks, which for wall kicks is when it's a wall jump, but you jump off the wall within the first 5 ticks. And if you do that, it gives you a speed boost.
Yeah, you can think of ticks as like frames. Titanfall 2 runs on a native 60 ticks. So it's basically I'm gonna butcher this, but it's basically the time the game, or the amount of times the game updates itself within a second. So if you jump off a wall within 5 ticks or less of touching it, you get a speed boost, and it's incrementally faster the faster that you do the jump off the wall. So it adds a lot of mechanical depth to the game.
And here we just want to spam jump through here, and hopefully it lets us go fast. Oftentimes it doesn't.
Yeah, the vent section is not very kind. And we're going to be seeing another slant boost here to get the final battery back to BT, and this one's pretty important because Titanfall 2 is a very momentum-based game, and you want to get a lot of momentum from the slant boost.
So hopefully... Okay, that was decent, I think.
Yeah, that was a great amount of speed. That's one of the best slant boosts you can get. And all the enemies in this last segment, we have to clear them out before we can install the last battery in BT. So we're gonna do that as quickly as possible. The frag boost placement is pretty precise, and it looks like you got them both. So maybe not. Okay. The stream delay got me there. We're looking for the last guy that's alive. Where is he? There he is. There we go. Good job.
I actually hit the first frag, which I don't usually do. And I usually hit that guy up there, so... Very happy with how this is going so far, even with
well done.
Death River.
So we're being introduced to our Titan here. This is BT7274. He's going to be our companion through the rest of the game. BT is a special Titan, and that we're going to be able to access different Titan loadouts throughout the game. You can think of Titan loadouts similar to like Heroes in Apex Legends or Overwatch or a MOBA. They're all going to have different sets of abilities with different strengths and weaknesses, and we'll be explaining what the different ones do as we capture them throughout the run.
Yes. And this section, right after I gain control over BT, there's going to be enemies on a ledge and a few drones flying around. And we have to... This section is very RNG based, and sometimes the bullets don't go where you want them to go. And you can lose a few seconds here, or gain seconds.
There's really not a lot of RNG in this game. This is one of the only segments that really has quite a few random elements in play.
So this is the vortex shield. Projectiles. Projectiles that enter the shield are shot back out at very high velocity, and they basically kill what they touch.
Yeah. We also have access to the Acolyte Pod, which is a multi-target missile system that just launches out a barrage of missiles, depending on how many enemies are targeted. And after this fight, we have the first, I guess the barrels were kind of a boss fight. This is the first fight that the game presents like a boss fight in the game. We're going to be fighting another Titan, but fortunately we have a really good strat to deal with this Titan. So as soon as he drops down, we're going to drop our electric smoke, which is going to do damage over time. And then we'll shoot his middle. We'll shoot the middle of the Titan there, which is going to be his crit point, and get him to bait out his own vortex shield, and then we'll launch the missiles after the shield is gone.
So that was BT.
Yeah, excellent, dude.
Waiting for a dialogue thing.
Yeah, so this audio cue is really weird. I won't talk over it so you can hear it.
Okay, so if we don't wait for that, then BT puts the waypoint for the next level in the opposite direction, so it takes a few extra seconds to finish the level.
Yeah, that's really that can be really annoying when that does happen. So now we're on to Blood and Rust, and so while BT7274 was difficult due to all the crazy geometry, Blood and Rust has a ton of really tight, narrow corridors, and navigating through them without losing speed is really difficult. So the first 3 levels in this game are extremely execution heavy. This part is a little bit of a breather, kind of like the calm before the storm. We're being introduced to Titan movement here. So Titan movement is summed up pretty easily. You always want to have a boost charging, don't want to waste any speed without boosting. And you want to be boosting when you go off ledges and holding crouch as well. This actually physically retracts your legs and allows you to do things like slide across that tone there, like you saw. And as well, you want to boost when you go around corners. And so BT's pretty heavy, and he'll kind of throw his weight as he goes around corners. And you can counteract that with a boost, conveniently enough. Down here at the end of this hallway, we're going to have a pretty difficult trick. Timing-wise, it's going to be disembark jump. So disembark jump is going to be a precise jump input during the disembark animation, and if done correctly, you should launch up to the top of it.
I messed it up.
Yeah, so that's not easy. And before you're like, oh, I can do that in the multiplayer really easily, the timing is legitimately significantly different between the multiplayer and single player. Good luck with this next segment here. This is pretty tough.
This part is very tough. I usually bonk my head on these doors a lot, and it gives me concussions a lot.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about with the tight corridors. We're going to see that in play a lot for this level. This is one of the highest skill cap levels for sure, just because we don't have really high air acceleration in this game. So what that means is when we're using air strafing to go around corners, we can't turn too fast, otherwise we just end up losing speed or not turning at all.
Oh, grunt! No.
Yeah, this sniper canal is pretty difficult too. And so, yeah, that makes it difficult because there's a lot of really sharp corners in this level, and we have to be really cognizant of how we approach those corners so that we can go through them smoothly, especially this hallway right here. Nice. And so you're tap strafing, right? Right, Game On?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure you're doing it before I explained it. So Game On is going to navigate some of these via tap strafing. And so tap strafing is done by when you're pressing a strafe key, if you tap W, it'll actually kind of lurch you in the direction that you're strafing really quickly. And so if we tap W, we're able to go around these corners at really sharp angles to kind of counteract that low air acceleration I explained before. This game is being run on PC for people that are asking in chat. Yeah. And so this segment can be a little bit tricky with all the enemies that are kind of stepped in here, but fortunately it's going pretty well. And coming up here, we're moving on to the first really big sequence break in the game. This is going to be known as Sludge Skip. So Sludge Skip has a lot of moving parts and it's pretty complicated. So we're gonna be we're gonna be exploiting BT's dialogue options that you see at the bottom there. And so at the end of this hallway, you'll see BT standing behind a fence, and we need him to stay there. So we have to reach a certain dialogue line, not too early and not too late. If we hit it too early, then the game will crash to menu when we get BT. If we hit it too late, then he walks away from the fence. So we have to come in here and press this button to trigger the next sequence, and then we want to get in BT by taking this unintended jump across this gap to these little pipes over here, and then we'll just embark on BT through the fence.
I actually did it!
Well done, dude. Good job. If we were watching live at GDQ, that'd be a clapping moment. That'd be a clapping moment right there. Yeah.
I helped.
So, yeah, that I helped. Yeah.
Okay, so
that jump doesn't look too tricky, but the reason that part is so hard is because it's the first segment of the game where you're actually on a timer. Like, you can't take your time, you can't make mistakes, you just gotta do it. Now,
lag, okay.
Go ahead.
So coming up here, this is Kane Fight. He is the first actual boss of the game. He has a Titan loadout of Scorch, which is the fire class, pretty much. And we switch to a different Titan loadout Tone. So as you see here, whenever you shoot an enemy Titan, you get a partial missile lock, and then you can dodge like that. Why is my thing lagging? That was a swap reload. And at the very beginning, we used the partial missile lock on both Kane and the brute. I think it was a brute that was in front of us. And we used both of them to destroy the first Titan, and then we move on to just Kane. So that went pretty decent. His flames.
Yeah, overall, that went about as well as you could want a Blood and Rust to go for a marathon run. So yeah, that was good.
So.
Tone. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't. mean to
I was just going to say so. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. So Tone is going to be a Titan that you're going to see coming back a lot through the run, primarily because Tone's DPS, or damage per second, is pretty good at basically any range. So it's just a very consistent Titan that you will be seeing on a frequent basis, just due to all the damage that the missile barrages do. So what's going on here in the context of the game is we just took a little listening device from Kane's helmet, and that's going to allow us to listen in on some enemy comms throughout the game and get us closer to figuring out what exactly the IMC and Apex Predators are up to.
Okay. Coming into this next level, Into the Abyss is one of the, I believe, 3 missions that are split into 3 different parts. Abyss 1 is mainly Titan movement. We just have to navigate through this cough cough shortcut, cough cough. Spoiler warning, it is not. So we're just going to jump off ledges and doing a bunch of things.
We just picked up Scorch, which is another Titan loadout that we're going to be seeing very shortly. Scorch, speaking of damage per second with Titans, has unmatched DPS at close range and in an AoE. So you'll see Scorch in effect at the end of this level here. Are you going for wall boost, Game On?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you might notice, we're in the thick of this assembly line here. There's some sort of construction that's happening here, we're not quite sure. And we can actually, based on the way that the level is set up for triggers, we can kind of jump ahead of the triggers to get ahead of the assembly line. And ideally have it push us forward, but the timing for it is very tight, so good luck.
I saved myself.
Nice. So that disembark is necessary. There are quite a few different variants of that trick that can happen. The one that Game On got, you have to disembark so you don't die. If you don't disembark there, the game actually just, the kind of that wall will catch up to you and just kill you. So here's Scorch, and Scorch just does a ton of AoE damage, and we're going to have to kill all 3 of these Titans to get through this door ASAP. And then Scorch also has a really, really good core, which is basically an ultimate, which is that big AoE that you saw there.
Bro, come on.
And this section's always kind of annoying because sometimes there's a lot of particle effects going on, and every now and again one of the Titans can kind of sneak through and get behind you there. So you have to go in here and press a button, and fortunately, after we press this button, both in this little room and then on the bridge on the outside here, the game is going to despawn the kill floor that's normally present at the bottom of the level. So we're actually just going to press the button and then fall straight down, and it saves a few seconds over waiting for the bridge to descend.
So that was Abyss 1, and now we come to Abyss 2, which is sadly an auto-scroller.
It's a tragedy. It really is.
There's a lot of cool movement you can do in this place, but it doesn't really matter because auto-scroller.
Yeah, it's really kind of a shame because there are a lot of moving parts here at play, and as you saw at the beginning of the level, you can get a ton of momentum from jumping off some of these platforms as they're moving, and we'll definitely see that again at the end. But this level is on a global cycle. So the assembly line that we were kind of seeing at first, we're now like really deep into it. And so we are tied to the speed of the assembly line. So it doesn't really matter to an extent how fast we move through here. It's just all gonna, as long as we get to we take the first platform as it heads toward the end of the level, we'll be fine. And you'd have to go really, really slow to miss that first platform. So
are we doing red versus blue? Is that a thing in marathons?
Sure, let's do red versus blue, man. Let's do it. Yeah. So before we get to that, we will be doing a little skip that's going to go around the outside of this level. This is known as Told Spice Route, and so Told Spice Route is important because walking through the middle of this level can be a little bit sketchy. There's just like a lot of different crushing hazards and things that are going on. So we can take this route on the rocks around the outside, and that will allow us to efficiently...
Oh, I messed it up.
No, no worries. Yeah, this allows us to like easily traverse the level without any big risk of death or anything. That first jump can be a little bit tricky, but fortunately we got a checkpoint right before the jump, so we lose virtually no time to that. So when we get to the end of this segment here, we're going to be doing a fun little thing known as red versus blue. So we have to wait for the level to catch up to us, basically. So we're going to be having these two robots fight each other for us. One of them is going to be red and one of them is going to be blue. So be sure to cast your votes in chat for which one you think is going to win. I got my money on, I think I usually vote on red. I'm always a red boy, but I think I'm going to go blue this time because blue's been on a win streak in my streams lately. So a draw is also...
Yeah, I'm going to do the callback to the GDQ run of the draw.
Yes. At the last GDQ it was a draw here. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We have to clear out some of these enemies first so they don't interfere with the very official fight. So we'll let Game On take care of that while we wait.
And while I'm doing this, at the very beginning of this level, when we first got into this open assembly line area, we picked up the Spitfire, which is used in a later level to do a pretty big dialogue skip, which will come into play later. Okay, blue on this side, red on that side. Oh, okay. Dang it.
What happened?
Smoke grenade.
Oh, is it over?
So that happens
Red
sometimes. That's
Red
what you
wins.
get. There's your gift. Have fun.
I think that happened at GDQX 2018. Blue had or right when you hacked blue, red had the preemptive grenade throw, and it's just over, just like that.
Yeah. Dang
You hate
it.
to see it. We hype up the fight for so long, and then red just ends it. So
And blue's been on a winning streak whenever I do it.
yeah.
I think red
Blue
has
is,
won.
Blue is pretty dominant.
Red has won once when I've done it. I've done it like 8 times.
It's like the dirty punch barely after they call go on the fight, you know?
Yeah, it's like touching gloves and then instantly punching the guy. Yeah. Anyway, so at the end of this segment here, we have a pretty cool trick. So we saw at the beginning how jumping off moving platforms can affect your movement. And what's going to happen on this crane arm that Game On is standing on is it's going to rotate up at about a 90-degree angle. And if we jump off of that at just the right time, it's going to launch us upward. And so we get that launch for both our first jump and our second jump. So ideally, it's going to launch us to the very top of this segment, and it'll skip a really long climbing sequence.
I do have a small backup if this goes wrong, just in case. Like that. So I climb up this thing,
Oh, this is a cool backup. I haven't seen this.
do that, kind of just like climb up the side, and there we go.
Dude, I've never seen that backup before. That's pretty cool. Well done, dude.
I think I made it up.
Yeah, nicely done. I didn't know you can kind of like wedge yourself in between that little bar part on the right, so
Yeah.
you taught me something today.
Ta-da! I taught World Record Guy something about the thing. The best
cute.
moment of my life right here.
So we have a very big skip coming up here. This is one of the only out-of-bounds skips in the game. Fortunately, there's just a little hole in this wall coming up here that we can just walk straight out of. We used to do this skip a completely different way until a Respawn developer saw our submission for SGDQ 2017, Nice Hole in One, and was like, hey, just so you know, there's like a faster way you can do this. So what we ended up discovering is that there is just no geometry there. And so due to the way that this level is set up, we're able to kind of walk around here or slide around here along the outside to stand on this little invisible floor. And so the screen is going to go black, and when the screen does go black, it's going to teleport us to an alternate location. And when we're standing right here, when it teleports us, we fortunately get put right on top of the trigger for the next level. So it's very fortunate that the skip works, because otherwise we'd have to deal with a very annoying, very long wave fight here.
Loading scenario 127 in Dynamic Simulation Dome 314.
Now, we shall see how impressive.
And that is the end of Into the Abyss 2. And Into the Abyss 3 is, I think it's shorter than other levels because there's just not a lot you have to do, I think.
Tell me you killed that pilot.
That certainly doesn't make it any less difficult, though. Yeah,
True,
there's
yes.
there's a ton of really tight movement in this level, and there's also a boss fight skip as well. What's going to be coming up here is something known as cylinder skip. So this big building up here is going to rotate, and we're going to kind of get ahead of it while it rotates and get inside of one of the little holes, and that is going to shoot us all the way around to the other side, where we're going to kind of use form a ladder between the walls here to jump up top. And that strat is super sick. One of my favorite skips in the game, and it saves around 12 seconds, even though it doesn't look like a whole lot. So now we're moving on to this is caverns. There's all the geometry here is really annoying. You can see Game On kind of getting caught up on it.
Yeah.
But if we are able to hit a fast cycle, we can sometimes get to this platform down here, though we are a little bit behind it. That's fine. The backup here is very easy and isn't that much slower. So, and now we're finally back to BT, thankfully.
This is a highly dangerous environment. I suggest
So-
you embark, pilot.
Now it's time for Ash Skip, which is the name of the boss we are skipping. Kind of self-explanatory. So if we were lucky here and we keep our health kind of down, we can get a damage boost. I got one, but the wrong way.
Yeah, you got a little one. That might have saved a fraction of a
Yeah.
second. So Ash Skip is pretty interesting, and this is the last time we're going to go out of bounds in this game. This run is almost all inbounds. So the Titan loadout that we have now has the ability to fly, and because of that we can kind of reach an unattended location up on these pipes on the left. And if we disembark once we reach this unattended location, the game puts us in the only other spot where both BT and Cooper can be standing, which just so happens to be out of bounds. There's a huge, crazy, like, Hall of Mirrors effect on the walls here. And now we're not out of the woods yet. We have to walk around the trigger for Ash Fight. So the trigger for Ash Fight kind of extends along the outer part of this dome. And we have to walk along this razor's edge here to get across it. And once we, so now we're clear, we're home free. There's one other little spooky part we have to do, which is this jump. And then another jump, and then we disembark through an invisible wall.
And I actually did it.
Nicely done.
That's
yeah.
2 for 2 hard skip, sludge, and ash skip.
Well done, dude. Yeah, and so the only reason this skip works is because we found out the end level trigger is present at all times. So thankfully we're able to go around the fight and just chill down here.
So, if you casually play through this campaign, this is the second of three-part missions. And this is the one you tell all your friends about. Effect and cause. You wanted to explain like the lore of what's happening here?
For sure. Yeah. This is the level if you play this game casually, you're like, okay, this one right here. So if you've been listening to any of BT's dialogue throughout the run, he's been talking about how we need to rendezvous with Major Anderson. We gotta find Anderson. So this is Anderson's last known location. And you can already tell that something is amiss here. Something isn't right. Time is swapping back and forth, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. We'll meet Anderson shortly, don't worry. But until then, we have a pretty difficult movement strat here. We're going to try and get some nice little wall kicks and propel ourselves across this large gap. So the wall kicks here are pretty important, and the way that you strafe through the air also plays a big hand in how this goes. Nice, so it looks like Game On hit it pretty well. And so, right here in this little building, we found Anderson. He's somehow inexplicably, like, stuck in the floor, but, like, if you think about it, the floor was there in the past, but it's also here in the present, so... Anyway, his helmet
Video
has...
game logic.
Yeah, his helmet has a lot of important data on it, and we're gonna give the helmet to BT so he can tell us the plot and the lore and kind of fill us in on what's going on. So while we do that, we just have to get up to this location up on top of the building here, and we're going to be waiting for a little bit.
With the death of Anderson, command of Special Operation 217 now transfers.
Anyway,
Congratulations on your field promotion.
how you feeling, Game On?
Proud of myself, but also not happy that I messed up BT with the beginning.
I gotta say, like, I mean, considering this is your first like marathon run ever, you're doing really, really well. So I'm impressed. I think you're nailing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. When BT's done talking, he's gonna take this this lamppost down here, and he's gonna launch it kind of up to the top, and it's gonna create a zipline for us. But instead of waiting for the zipline to appear, we can kind of jump ahead of it and then grab the zipline as soon as it spawns in. And that'll allow us to save a couple seconds, which is pretty nice. Are you going for FTL?
I would try it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, if you don't like. I'm not sure if that's a strat you go for or not. So.
I always try it. You usually mess
Cool.
it up, but I try it.
Cool, nice. Yeah, so Game On's gonna go for a strat. So we can't control the time swaps at this time, but we can position ourselves in a certain place when time does swap. So in one timeline, we're gonna stand where a laser grid would be. So when the time swaps back, we're standing inside that laser grid, and it's going to launch us down this little bridge that you see kind of hanging above the ground here. And it's a very difficult trick.
Dang it.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that strat isn't the easiest. It's pretty easy to miss that zipline, but it doesn't lose a ton of time if you don't get it, because we kind of have to wait for this dialogue box to disappear anyway. So only loses about 5 seconds missing that zipline. I love this game. When is it going to be on sale? It goes on sale a lot. I would just keep an eye out. I know it was on sale on Origin for like $5 the other day. So, unfortunately, yes, you do need Origin play this game. It's like its biggest downside. So. All right, so FTL is going to be coming up here. He's going to be positioning himself in a very specific spot to try and get this laser grid to launch him as soon as it spawns in. Good luck.
Supposed
Yeah,
to
so
get
this
that
trick-
speed boost, but
Yeah, so yeah, that's the speed boost that you want to see, but this I can't emphasize how hard that trick is. It's very, very positioning dependent. So ideally, you would be launched all the way through the hallway. Missing it, not a big deal. So good luck. I mean, not good luck. Good try.
so here's the other half of Anderson. And this half of him has the wrist-mounted device that Sarah was talking about when he took the when BT took the helmet. So this gives us the ability to control whether we are in the present or the past. Present, past, present. Yeah. This does take away our cloak, but cloak is not really too useful, I think. So
yeah. That tooltip, press to time travel, pretty sick. So this level, in particular, Affecting Cause Chapter 2, is one of the most difficult in the run. There are no really, really big skips in this level. This level is basically 100% based around movement. And as we're swapping back and forth through time, we're going to have different strats for different timelines, and some areas call for one timeline over the other. It looks really pretty when you move through it, but its difficulty can't be understated. So this is probably one of the biggest turning points as far as the story goes in the game. We will be sure to deliver the lore to you as it happens. And we're going to be, the lore is going to be delivered to us through all of these like audio logs or holographic logs that Anderson's left behind. And the IMC are working on some sort of big spooky thing here that affects time, and we're not quite sure what's going on.
They're restoring it. Whatever they're planning, it's potentially catastrophic.
Railcoon, did you have any questions for like game on at all? Like now might be a good time since we're kind of waiting for these dialogue lines.
I messed that up.
What kind of questions are you thinking here?
Oh,
Is that
I was
beginner level stuff?
Oh, I just wasn't sure. I remember you you mentioned you wanted to like ask him something through the run at first. That might be a good time, but if not, that's totally cool.
Well, this is a point where I could definitely promote the whole fact of Disability Month. Just throughout the month of October, we'll be featuring speedruns by disabled speedrunners to help promote Able Gamers Foundation. If you or a loved one have, anything that may get in the way of your ability to play video games, Able Gamers is there to. They do a lot of things through recommending assistive technology to, in some cases, even building their own to suit people who need it. So they're a great foundation, and we're just bringing awareness to the fact that a lot of people who have disabilities can still play video games, and there's places out there to get help if you want it. If you'd like to participate, you can do !Disability Month in chat, and we are still taking submissions for people who'd like to do speedruns near the end of the month.
So the segment that, thank you, Railcoon. The segment that we're moving through right now, this is known as Hell Room. This is one of the most difficult segments in the game. You saw a death there from Game On, and that is not unexpected. It is super duper, it's really, really hard. And getting through here and moving the platforms back and forth and doing this all in one go is not not something that's easy. So getting through there with one death is pretty okay. That's super manageable. And now we're moving on to the climax of Effect and Cause. And so what we have learned is that the IMC are working on some sort of big evil super weapon that folds space and time, and they're trying to use it to destroy the militia planet of Harmony. So this game, and they're using some technology that they didn't create, that they found. So you can kind of think of this game as kind of like a Halo meets Star Wars in terms of plot.
And that ends Affecting Cause 2, and now it's Affecting Cause 3. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to this. Basically, there's a thing you can do here called Time Stop, which I am not quite able to do. If you swap time like in a specific way, when you hack this panel, you can like trick the game into thinking you're in a timeline that you're not in, and you can do. Oh, okay. You can do a cool thing with that. But here, as we go closer to the thing they were testing, the timelines get confused and they kind of interconnect, and time stops anyways. So
This segment is so cool, casually too. It's so pretty. There's a lot of little details everywhere in here that you can just kind of stop around and look at. It's awesome.
So over here is the arc, I believe. So we just have to stand here and scan this, and that is the end of the level.
Yeah, the arc right here that we're scanning, this is the power source for the fold weapon, and so scanning this is going to deliver us a lot of information as to where the IMC are storing the current arc and how it works and everything. So, can we pause the timer during the time-free segment? Wouldn't that be convenient? Yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and change the rules in the Titanfall run. So
as Anderson discovered,
just you have to pause the timer during the time-free segment. You'll get like a free minute of time save. It only makes
using
sense.
the full-scale version of this weapon. Pilot Cooper, our journey is far.
So what I learned from this
We
is
must get this data to the fleet.
do not jump off at the very end, because
Yeah, you can actually die here.
if you jump off, you die, and it resets your weapons for this level. This is the beacon. Again, it's split into 3 parts. This is the last one that's like that. And many times I have been confused as to why both my guns change. And the gun we grabbed in Abyss 2 is very useful for this beginning segment.
Establish contact with the fleet. The interstellar beacon.
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite level in the game to run easily. All the geometry that you're seeing here is just kind of a suggestion. It doesn't actually match its physical appearance. So moving through here smoothly is no small task. What this level does feature though is a pretty cool dialogue skip. So this was found by Tron Givolta, thankfully. If you remember, if you count the SGDQ 2017 run of this game, you'll remember we didn't have a consistent way to do this. But how this works is we're going to kill all the enemies that are on the outside of this building here that are attacking the militia on the inside. And then we run back to BT quickly, and emphasis on quickly, you got to go pretty fast for this. BT will actually skip the majority of his dialogue with the militia that are inside the building. And this saves around 30 to 45 seconds depending on execution. It's super duper helpful. This segment used to be like really, really random. So it's nice to have a consistent strat through here. So.
Threat neutralized. Well done.
This is not a strat that you can do as efficiently. You can still do it on harder difficulties, but not as efficiently. As you can see how close Gamon got to dying there.
No, BT,
and
come on.
That difficulty does ramp up on harder difficulties. BT's being not nice right now. Yeah, if you're like a little bit, if you make a little mistake, BT can kind of get a mind of his own. We're gonna pick up Ronin here. We'll be seeing a lot of Ronin later on. Ronin has a lot of really efficient movement abilities that will allow us to get through some segments really quick. But now once we get inside the building, we're gonna meet Captain Cole. He's just kind of a jerk. He's gonna repeat everything that we already know and just like be rude to BT. And yeah, nobody really likes him. He just kind of sucks, you know? So after this, we'll be moving on to a much better level, which is Beacon Chapter 2. Definitely one of my favorite levels to run personally in the game.
Function.
Also, somebody before asked, like, I'm not sure who's talking or whose voice is whose. Hi, I'm Brian Otto.
Can you repair it?
Yeah, I'm game on. I don't talk too much because, yeah.
You gotta focus on a speedrun, which you're nailing right now, so, yeah.
Gamon's just gotta go fast. We talk for him.
Yeah.
I'm Real Coon. I'm just piping up every now and then, leaving most of this to Brian Otto because he's pretty good at this.
Thank you. Yeah, so Beacon Chapter 2 has a really nice flow to it. There is... Gamon, are you going for Kill Room Skip?
No. Nope.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, that Kill Room Skip is like probably the hardest skip in the game, and you went for Boom Boom River Jump, so I was
Which I'm surprised I got.
Yeah, that was awesome. This level has a really nice flow to it and a couple neat skips.
The channel is
This level kind of combines everything that you need to be good at in Titanfall 2. It has a lot of cool movement sections. It has some cool damage boosting. It has some skips. It has some combat. So this is kind of like when runners are asking like, what level do I want to learn at the beginning of the game, like to get good? And I was like, well, if you do Beacon 2 ILs, that kind of teaches you most things that you need to know about the movement. So this room in particular is known as Kill Room. So we call it Kill Room because you have to kill a certain amount of enemies to get the door to open. Very creative naming scheme. So once you kill 7 enemies, the door here at the end opens. And at the beginning, right before we walked in this room, we picked up the softball. So the softball is a little sticky grenade launcher. You'll get some like Demo Man, Team Fortress 2 vibes, the other TF2. And we can use that grenade to boost us. And fortunately, the grenade doesn't do enough damage to give us a one-hit kill, so we can do it without much risk, as opposed to other boosting or damage boosts in the game, which you usually can with the risk of death. So every boost that we get does save about 1/3 of a second, so it all kind of adds up as you go on. We're going to come down here and grab the arc tool. So the arc tool is kind of the gimmick for this level. It's a big shooty zappy
No,
gun.
lag. Did I have to lag that second?
Oh, did your game hitch? Oh, I saw that. Wow, that was a huge hitch. Okay.
No, okay. I can usually get this.
Yeah, so there's a strat that Game On is going for here. There's an invisible wall that extends underneath
No,
the fan that he's
Too high.
trying to use. Yeah, so there's an invisible wall beneath the fan that he's trying to use to navigate this room
There
quickly.
we go.
Unfortunately, it looks like his game hitched, and it caused him to probably drop an input there. Anyway, so here's the big shooty zappy gun we were talking about, and we're going to be using it to turn doors on and off here. And this is the fan launch there is pretty cool. And coming up here, we have one of the first big skips in the game that challenges your ability to airstrafe. You have to have a beginner level, or at least like maybe a journeyman level knowledge about airstrafing works to get this. This is known as heatsink skip. It skips a pretty significant movement puzzle, saves around 20 seconds. Oh, nice setup for that. Okay, so yeah, Game On's taking a pretty... Did you get... Oh?
No.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So Game On tried to do a bit of a safer setup by running on the very top of the wall there. And there's a lot of things that can go wrong there. In particular, there's this really big annoying beam that kind of sticks out from the front of the skip.
Oh.
And it...
Wait, I'm just gonna... Resetting checkpoints is not good. That's what I have learned.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, it looks like you're almost like bonking something or something. I can't quite figure out what's going on myself.
This always happens.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, for some runners, heatsink skip could be kind of a demon for them.
What the? Okay, that... this... Just like
yeah,
my normal
are you
runs.
not getting a double jump at all? Or...
No, I'm just bonking my head on something and it's just destroying my height.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, it might be because of how high you're jumping on the door. I can't say I've seen that before, so that's a new one.
There we go. Finally.
Yeah, there you go. Nicely done. Yeah, that skip is one of the more difficult ones for sure. So,
I've lost many minutes on that skip.
and now this segment's pretty cool where you get to use this fan pushes all your momentum down this hallway here. And if you hit the fan at the right angle, you can kind of continue that momentum, but getting the setup to get in there is pretty tight. And I love the grunt dialogue coming back. You're like, whoa, it's a pilot! Whoa, look at him go, he's so fast! And then they just step in your way. It's always fun.
Return journey was hard, but
yeah,
okay.
that was definitely like a tale of two speedruns there. Like there were, the first part of that level was really good, and then heatsink skip happened.
like it always does.
Alright, and now we're on to the Beacon Chapter 3, and this level is a monster. So, this is one of the longest single levels in the game. It is unfortunately bookended by these long dialogue sequences. When you play this game in Mandarin, you save 12 seconds versus English just in dialogue alone on this level, and that's a third of all the time save that Mandarin saves. So, yeah, that just goes to tell you like just how much faster, or how much dialogue there is present in this level. But that said, this level is probably the single most difficult in the game. This is if you've seen the speedrun before for this game, you're gonna remember like, oh yeah, super fastball.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing that pretty soon. Definitely one of the most iconic parts of the speedrun for sure. But until then, we have to just go do some stuff, take care of some errands for Cole. We have to turn the power back on so we can be delivered to the next plot device. And they talk a lot about how dangerous this radiation room is, but you can like take a nap in here.
You can also throw fire stars at your feet and nothing happens.
Yeah, there's some really weird things that are at play in there. Like you cannot die in the room. Like you can throw thermite at your feet, and normally it would kill you in seconds. Or in there, it won't kill you at all. You have like really fast recharging health for some reason. And we've tried to figure out ways to like abuse that, or maybe bring that property into other segments of the game, but we can't quite find a way to do that yet. So. And
fun fact, this thing can shoot far.
Yeah, the range on the softball is like pretty intense. The thing really launches itself. Yeah. So what's going to be happening here is we're once we get back in BT, we're going to be switching over to that Titan that can fly, and so something really interesting will happen with this. So once you switch to the Titan that can fly, you're not supposed to be able to disembark in the process of flight. But if you're able to kind of wedge yourself in a corner, or kind of bonk BT's head or something like that, for some reason you're given the ability to disembark. And when you disembark from a Titan while it's flying, which again is unintended, it reduces the player gravity by around 15%. And so that ends up making us really floaty. We call this trick moon boots, because it looks like you're on the moon, you know, floaty gravity. And this will allow us to do something pretty gnarly coming up here. So for this segment, BT, we have to get like across this big gap, and BT will say that he's gonna throw us to this other area. But we have reduced gravity, and we found out thanks to a QA tester at Respawn that if you hold jump when BT's throwing you, you do a frame perfect jump off of his hand. And so we have reduced gravity, we're doing an unintended jump, and we're gonna be using that to our advantage. And ideally, I can't stress how hard this is. We're going to be using it to fly across this entire section. So please enjoy Super Fastball. Good luck, Game On.
Trust me. IMC dropships headed to your location.
No,
That was a good try. Dude, you really kept that together well. That was pretty sick. You got a checkpoint right there, so it'll be fine. Yeah. That was pretty sick, dude. Like, oh, it put you right here. Are you going for it again?
Quick save.
Okay, so you did your, so we did a safety save. All right. Take 2.
That's more like it.
There you go. Nicely done, dude. Okay, so I thought you were gonna load checkpoint, but that actually makes a lot more sense. Okay, so that's what that was supposed to look like, which is why I was even more impressed by your improv during that first segment. Like, you just flew through there. That was really sick.
Well, there's gravity stars in one of the rooms along the way, so I was thinking maybe if we can somehow go through there in the middle of that.
Yeah, that would be something, dude. Yeah. Speaking of gravity stars, Game On's going to pick some up right now, and these are little shurikens that have a gravity well attached to them. And they give us a huge speed boost, probably the biggest single boost in the game. We're going to use that to skip having to move this crane. And then, are you going for the gravity star boost here?
I'm going to try a semi-improv one.
Okay, cool. Good luck, dude.
But I almost never get it.
Yeah, there's a pretty cool gravity star boost you can do here that is really difficult. And you can use that momentum. Again, Titanfall 2 is a very momentum-based game, so you can use the momentum from the gravity star to really launch you across these areas.
Standing by for your return, Cooper.
Yeah, so that's pretty difficult. But this
I used my double jump.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, this last segment is just based around keeping your momentum and moving through here quickly. Fortunately, we got a quick spawn there, so that death cost us almost no time. there's a lot of moving parts here, and so it's really easy to make like little technical flubs like that, whether it's accidentally jumping to the side or using a double jump early. And now we simply need to get back to BT. There's a strat here where you can use the momentum from the gravity star to actually skip this zipline entirely and just clear this whole gap, but it is up there in terms of difficulty with something like kill room skip or anything like that. So, how long have you been running this game on? It's only been like a few months, right?
Yeah, only a few months. I first wanted to get into it when I saw your GDQX 2018, and the thing that really sold it for me was Super Fastball.
Right. Yep.
Because
look at you doing Super Fastball now on GDQ with yourself. That's gnarly. That's so cool.
Where did you go, sir? Come back.
This fight's really annoying. One of the things we're trying to implement here is spawn manipulation. So by looking and standing in certain areas, we can have enemy spawn in one spot. And you can actually skip this whole fight, but it is just faster to do the fight and then get out and do the climb. So dealing with all these guys quickly can be very, very frustrating.
I almost went the other way.
Nice so you saw how we kind of like jumped really high out of BT right there? That is the disembark jump that I was talking about before. That's exaggerated with moon boots as well. How is kill room skip done? So kill room skip includes like a death abuse. It also includes a boost with the softball that you see, and as well as like a 3-tick wall kick. So it's a bunch of things all at once.
Protocol 2 mission update.
If you look up like any of the top Beacon Chapter 2 ILs, you can normally find on YouTube or on speedrun.com, you can usually see it done at those levels.
So here we are doing Course Chore and replacing what needs fixing. And now we did that, so now we just have to head back to the control room, but a certain boss stops us along the way. And fireworks, 3, 2, 1, now.
It's fireworks.
So coming up here is the second boss we actually fight, I think.
This is like technically the third boss in the game, but the second one that we fight because we skipped Ash.
And as you can see talking in the stolen radio, it will be Richter.
Yes. This fight is very heavy on the spawn manipulation that I talked about. The position of like where we're standing and where we're looking is going to be important basically at all times in between these waves of enemies that we're going to fight. We have decent strats for killing all of them effectively, but being positioned and looking in certain spots is going to be the utmost important here. So we're going to stand there to force these Reapers to spawn there, and then after the Reapers are dead, we'll be going back and looking at a certain spot to get these other 2 Titans to spawn in a certain area, because if we're not doing that, they can spawn on like literal opposite sides of this map. And if you couldn't tell, this map is really, really big. So having them grouped up together is super duper important. And this is one of the only other parts of the game that is pretty random. There's quite a bit of variance. There's quite a bit of variance as to what can happen here between these 2 Titans. They're both what's known as a Strider chassis, which is kind of like the most lightweight Titan in the game, and because of that, they both have increased dash distance and increased movement speed. And so, dealing with them effectively, as you can see here, is quite can be quite difficult if they don't want to behave. So. So now we have Richter fight, and this is like this is the worst cut.
Just shoot him.
Dude, it's so dumb. He gets out of his Titan and you're like meters away from him, and the turrets that were shooting previously just conveniently stop shooting, and he does this stupid dialogue and then gets back in. Anyway, he's actually invincible during this cutscene. We found ways to damage him outside of the cutscene, and it's just not possible. If you do enough DPS to Richter here, he will self-destruct once his health bar gets depleted, like we saw there. Nicely done. That's the quick kill for Richter.
That was the fastest Richter fight I've ever done.
Yeah, that was really good. That was really solid. And so now, all the hard part's over. We just have to, we're waiting for a bit. So, that was pretty sick that we got to see a full super fastball. That's pretty dope. But now this is like where the rest of the dialogue is here. So, so now we're waiting for the level to end, basically.
Almost there. 80%. Signal strength at maximum power. We are a go for transmission.
So was that the disembark jump that you just did?
Yes, I did it again.
Yeah, it gets exaggerated when you have no boots, but yeah, you just get launched to the very top. So, oh my God, is that a smiley? I can't tell.
It's a star.
Oh, it's just. Oh, okay. Yeah, for some reason on these moving platforms, grenades like that won't explode, so it's pretty convenient. That's a fun way to mess with people too, because like you just hear all the grenades making the beeping noise, and everybody gets scared.
I thought it was a smiley again because you did the smiley at the start of the run.
Yeah, that's like a tradition now.
Every run.
Yeah. If you're a Titanfall runner, you gotta do a smiley face after before the Titan drops on BT.
I am now linked to an acting pilot, Rifleman Jack Cooper.
So here's Sarah. She's the leader of the SRS, which is kind of like a subsect of the militia. They're an elite like Titan group. She's her place in the speedrun is a little bit unfortunate.
Our combat effectiveness rating now exceeds.
It's like what am I trying to say here? We're gonna have to escort her a bunch, and she's gonna yell at us a bunch and tell us things that we already know. So fortunately, hopefully we'll be seeing as little of her as possible, because this next level can be pretty difficult.
It's high praise coming from a machine, Cooper. Thanks to your scan data of the Ark, we've tracked its energy signature to an IMC base right here on Titan. We don't have much time. Let's go.
Okay, so coming up here in this intro cutscene to Trial by Fire, there's one thing I have never understood and still don't understand.
What's that?
So, Sarah's a pilot, right? Where's her helmet?
That's a good question. I've never thought about that myself either. Yeah, pilot helmets are the reason we have like the heads-up display that we do, and they relay a lot of information to the pilot. So that's a good question. I don't know why she doesn't have a helmet. She has a jump kit and everything, right? So
Yeah, so why?
Anyway, so this level is the only level of its kind in the entire run. This level is based entirely around Titan combat and movement. We're not going to be disembarking at all. So somebody in chat said Sarah is too slow to need a helmet. It's good. So the beginning of this level, we switch to Ronin, and Ronin has an ability that allows you to block all incoming damage. 75% of all incoming damage. And normally the game wants you to hide behind this cover up here while our allies deal with all these turrets, and we can just walk straight through it. So pretty convenient in that way. And so this segment is really difficult. There are going to be a ton of Titans that spawn in, and there's a risk of death here, and we also want to be dealing with the Titans as quickly as possible for each individual wave. This is absolutely one of the hardest parts of the run, and it doesn't look like it because there's not a ton of movement that's going on, but the difference between like a good trial by fire and a bad trial by fire is upwards of like a minute. This is normally where you can see like a really big difference in runner skill gaps. Is how they approach this level, because there's an enormous amount of micromanaging and trying to figure out which Titans need to die next and which ones need to die to advance the level, and trying not to die, and it's a lot. So
Please. Okay.
oh my, that was so close.
Yeah.
So what we're waiting for right now is we need Sarah to say, "Pilot, you're with me." And when she says that, that means we've killed enough enemies needed for the level to progress, and we can keep moving. But until that point, we just have to keep killing Titans. So so we finally heard it, and that means the doors are opening. We can proceed.
I like to sit here and wait. Okay.
Yeah. So Sarah is fortunately keeping up with us. We're gonna take some safety strats to make sure that she does stay along with us. She has like the ability to definitely like lag behind here a lot, because there are a lot of little individual enemies here that she can kind of get caught up on. But we're gonna go through a lot of effort to make sure that doesn't happen. I wouldn't say that this segment is necessarily random. There's a little bit of variance here, but generally speaking, when you kill all the same enemies and do the same thing every single time, she will keep up.
Reminds me of there's a game I play where you have to go ahead of someone you're escorting and open all the doors for them so they don't slow down.
What run is that?
Market the Ninja.
Oh yeah. I forgot you ran that. That's really cool.
Just sort of like running ahead of Sarah and just making sure she doesn't get distracted by enemies by killing them all for her.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And the best part's like when Sarah's like, "Okay, pilot, follow me up ahead," and you're like, "Bro, we're here." And then she says, "That's the easy part," which is literally one of the hardest parts of the entire run. So it's just the worst.
Yeah, for my splits, I have that part labeled as in quotations easy, easy part.
Yeah. Fortunately, we can leave Sarah behind now. We don't have to worry about her anymore. So we have the ultimate ability stored just for this part in particular. So Ronan's ultimate gives him a really fast recharging dash, and so we're going to use that to basically cheese the rest of this level and just move all the way through. We build core by doing damage to Titans, so we're going to optimally deal a ton of damage to both of these Titans here to get our core back ASAP, and then we're going to use that again to activate our second sword core, which takes us almost to the end of the level here.
And if you time it right, I found that, and while you're in this form, your arc wave, the wall of arc of lightning that we shoot at Titans, it does like extra damage. And if you time it just right, you can throw the improved arc wave, then you switch back to your normal form, and you basically get the... Oh, I messed that up. You get the core that you would get from the improved damage boost without being in that form. It's just something I found.
Yeah, I noticed that you did that. Do you get more core charge that way because you get more damage?
I think so.
It looked like the same amount, but yeah, I've thought about that before. We'll have to go back and look at that later.
Maybe.
So now we're on to the Arc. This is the second to last level in the game, and this level is a terror. This level's
Moment of
terrifying.
truth.
Yeah, so there are a ton of really critically difficult segments in this level. Don't forget to throw a grenade, by the way.
Yeah, I did
that. This first section is a bit on rails, but I just want to talk a little bit about the skip that's coming up after. So Barker skip is what this level is most known for. What we're going to be eventually jumping from one moving ship to another moving ship, and the way that those ships are moving can affect how easy or difficult the jump is to do. And on top of that, we're also going to be going for a perfect grenade boost. So we're going to be dropping a grenade at our feet and then sliding and jumping, and we need to be just outside of the kill radius so we get the maximum boost without dying. And so you have to manage the way in which the ships are moving and the distance at which you jump from the grenade. And so there's quite a few things that you're trying to take into account to get the skip. And this skip is really important because it saves around 45 seconds total. So normally, like, I say personally, when I'm in a marathon run, like if I get this within the first 5 tries, it's a make for me. A world record run would need this first try, obviously, but if I get it within the first 5 tries, like I'm pretty happy. So.
And this is Viper. He is the boss that we will be facing off against at the very end of this level. And now I'm going to shut up and get ready for this very difficult skip.
Yeah, good luck, dude.
You're welcome.
I got this.
Battleship Malta at 10 o'clock, guarding the Draconis. We can't get past it. Cooper, I need a pilot on board the Malta to secure the deck now.
Commander Briggs, this is Blackbird 6-4. We can get her there. BG, we need a fastball.
Copy that, 6-4.
First try. Let's
First
go.
try Barker, dude. That's so sick. Nicely done, man. Okay, are you going for 6-4 as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was good.
First try Barker, first try 6-4. That's so sick. Okay, I can't. Oh, you got the really, really swaggy Mastiff pickup too.
Yep.
Dude, well done. Yeah, I can't emphasize how hard that is to do, especially under pressure. Because this comes so late in the game too that your nerves are just like sky high. So, sky high in the sky. Nice, good job, me. Anyway, so this next segment here, the game wants you to clear out all of these gun batteries that are attacking this other ship over here.
Oh,
but you
I
actually
got
won't.
way too early.
You only need to clear out the 3rd battery, and it will despawn the rest of the enemies, assuming you do it quickly. I think you still killed people with that grenade, though. That was a Kobe, if I've ever seen one. So.
I hit someone. I didn't.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So that was a good 3rd battery clear, and now it just despawns the rest of the enemies, and we're off. So we're gonna get to meet the 6-4 here. They're this this group of individual pilots that are helping us out right now. This trick is called Early Sarah. We're gonna jump on top of Sarah's ship as she's rising up. Normally there'd be this whole cinematic that plays out where she closes the door and we do a cool wall run across it and everything with the 6-4, and it's awesome. But instead we're just gonna run on top of the ship and get across a bit early.
Briggs here. What do you need me to do?
Close the door and keep her steady. He's not thinking.
And you have to take into account the way that the ship is moving too, because if Sarah is descending on the ship, you can actually completely eat your double jump, so you gotta be careful. So this segment here is known as room clear, because, you know, we're clearing out this room of enemies. Again, our naming schemes are perfect in this game. So there are a certain number of enemies that the 6-4 are scripted to take out on their own.
Oh crap! Dang it!
I'm a little... Okay, okay. I was wondering what happened. I'm on like a 3-second delay, so I wanted to see what happened before I kept commentating.
What do you need me to do?
So there are a certain number of enemies that the 6-4 are scripted to take care of, and we want to kill all the ones aside from the ones that they're trying to kill. And so fortunately we know every single enemy that those are, and we'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. You can take a lot of damage in this room pretty quickly, even though we are on not a high difficulty setting. There's still an enormous amount of enemies here, and so you can get damage pretty quick. And those arc grenades that you saw Game On use there they're not the nerfed version of them that you see in the multiplayer nowadays. Those are the released version of the arc grenades, which are super duper strong. Like, you get hit by those and it takes out a third of your health, so very difficult, or very, very strong rather.
The room's clear.
Okay,
That's the
I
bridge
did
up
it.
there.
There we go. You're doing it, man. You're almost there.
Almost.
Yeah, so next up we have, this is your typical like breach and clear segment that's in every single military FPS that's been released in the last 10 years. So we don't actually have to kill anybody in this segment, we just run through. And then we're going to use this knife that very conveniently also hacks things after it stabs it to steer the ship. So we're going to steer the ship with a knife, and just don't worry about it.
This knife is my favorite plot device in this game.
Dude, yeah, this is like the plot device to end all plot devices.
Okay, so now we have to steer the ship behind the ship in front of us, and it can be a bit finicky at times. Sometimes I'll be right behind it and it won't think that I'm right behind it. And after we do this, Barker is going to drop BT right here, and we have to stand, because during Barker skip, BT was supposed to throw us. Sir? If we stand right there, the game will just crash the menu, because the hitbox for the throwing is still there. And with this out of the way, it is now time for Viper Fight.
Yeah, dude, Viper Fight is probably my favorite fight in the speedrun.
Viper's cool.
Yeah, Viper's cool, and this fight is just like, this is probably the hardest fight in the game, which is probably why I like it so much. So we have to deal with these two Scorches that both have an enormous amount of health and very strong defensive capabilities. And then Viper actually does a ton of damage, like regardless of the difficulty setting. So there are quite a few elements at play that we have to deal with here. That was a beautiful quick kill on that first Scorch.
Yes, I'm
we
very
saw
proud
that.
of that.
Yeah, we saw that in play with the Cane Fire, where you can stack missile charges and then use them both on one Titan. So now we're gonna try to get close enough to Viper here to use our Sword Core and get a few shots off on him. Usually, if we can chunk his health like that, we can deal with him when he's flying is a lot easier. Unfortunately, our ranged abilities are pretty lacking in terms of like actual reliable ways to kill him. But getting his health down, we can usually deal with him in a few bursts, like you saw there. So nicely done, solid Viper fight all around.
Okay, some of these moments are like the best moments I've ever done, and the other ones are like, this is the worst I've ever done.
Yeah, dude, that's like Yeah, that's a marathon run for you, right? Yeah. For me, I'm always like, I always nail the really hard stuff and then mess up the easy stuff.
Screams.
Yeah, that's the best subtitle in the game right there.
So here, there's this cool little brawl scene between BT and Viper. And we just have to wait to line up a perfect one-shot massive kill.
This sequence is so cool too, this fight sequence is really well choreographed. Nice. Yeah, that shot can be a little bit tricky because the Mastiff is a projectile weapon, and so the ship is descending at a rapid rate. So when you're shooting, your bullets can actually like drift upward because of how the ship is descending. So you have to
BT's
take
fine.
into account there. So for the rest of the segment, it is just an auto-scroller.
Yeah.
So we're kind of waiting for a bit, but while we have a little bit of time before the run ends, we're about 15-ish minutes from the end of the run now. I just wanted to give a little shout out to Games Done Quick for having Titanfall 2 here on the hotfix. I think that's pretty cool. I really like what you guys are doing with Disability Month with able gamers. A lot of people don't know it, but I do suffer from very severe anxiety and depression myself. So being able to be on here and talk about that and support Game On while he does this awesome run is really cool. So yeah, thanks for having us first of all.
And I suffer from ADHD. It's gone better, but I still sometimes have a lot of trouble when I'm trying to write an essay and I have to focus for long periods of time. And when I was younger, it prevented me from doing the chores around the house, which I needed to do. It's gotten better now, but every now and then it comes up. And gaming is somehow something I can always focus on, no matter how long it is, like over an hour and a half speedrun. So, gaming has really helped me enjoy myself and be a release for my ADHD, and yeah.
That's pretty dope, dude. Yeah, I relate to that a lot, just in terms of gaming being a release, right? Like, for me, you know, I always felt like a person that would be just, like, doomed to be mediocre at everything I ever did.
Oh, yeah, that was wrong.
Yeah. And, like, speedrunning is kind of a thing where I put a lot of effort into it, and I've like overcome a lot of things I would think I'd be able to do. So, yeah.
Your problems are not my concern.
And so now we're on to the final mission of the game. This is wow, what's this mission called? The
Forward
Full
weapon.
my brain completely stopped there. We have a pretty long cutscene to sit through at the beginning here, but this mission is definitely a difficult one. What happened off screen there during the what happened off screen there during the load screen was the ship crash landed, and the BT and Cooper were captured by the Apex Predators, and now we're trying to get the power source for the fold weapon, which is trapped inside of BT right now.
I have a lot of dots riding on this contract, my friend.
He's pointing a knife at us. He's pointing a super weapon at us. What do we do?
Hey,
I wonder if that's a data knife as well. I always notice like how sharp that knife looks too. Like it's really sharp looking. I thought they did a good job with that.
At this point, when I'm streaming it, like to lecture Blisk about shooting me in the head isn't very nice. You probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's a mean thing to do.
Right here. Yeah.
Hey, stop yelling at him. He's trying his best.
Functions compromised, like severe.
Something to watch right here. Are you playing on a high FOV at all, Game On? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay, so at the end of the sequence, Blitzkrieg's is gonna do a little like twirl, and then he's gonna kind of dash off to the right. If you watch him closely, he'll be out of focus, but he's gonna zip into the floor. He's gonna actually just fall straight through. I think that's the game's way of just removing him from the arena, but it's really funny if you see it.
Nah, that wasn't so hard, was it? That's the problem with teams. If you don't win together, you die together.
Bloop. So yeah, he went through the floor there. It's kind of hard to see, but It happens.
I always imagine him like when he's talking in this next segment, like screaming up through the grates of the floor. So
Nice try, love.
is as far as chat goes, is this anybody's first time seeing a Titanfall speedrun? By the way, I'm kind of curious.
Alright, get the Ark out of here! We're running out of time!
After this sequence here, we have a pretty nifty little strat that was found by Flotza. Thank you, Flotza. For some reason, if you walk backwards into the fire and then walk forward, it'll like skip around 5 seconds of having to wait for BT to talk to him.
See, why can't we just like pick up this wrench or the hammer and just chuck it at the door?
Because then we wouldn't be able to use our knife to conveniently hack through the door controls. That wouldn't be as cool.
We can do that later.
Is it data wrench?
Data wrench, yeah.
So BT kind of just died, and
Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, go ahead. Go
Oh.
ahead.
He is giving us the Seer kit. What does it stand for again?
The Survive, Evade, Resist, Escape. SERE.
Yes, that thing. And we saw Lastimosa in the very beginning put these two things into Seer kit. We have the data knife and a smart pistol, which is an aimbot pistol that is also in the multiplayer version of this game.
For some reason.
Yeah. When playing multiplayer, I use the dice roll thing, so I get a random boost, and sometimes I get the smart pistol and I have
That's
to
no
use it.
excuse. That's no excuse.
Yeah, I know.
This first segment's pretty tough because we actually don't have a double jump. It kind of feels like the beginning of the game. So getting up these stairs quickly is not super easy, though you handled it with ease there. Nice.
But then I...
Yeah, you have to maintaining a slide boost through there is also pretty hard. This area is pretty spooky because if you do die at a certain point of it, you get put back like right at the beginning of the segment, but the game bugs out and it won't give you your double jump. So you have to like watch the whole cutscene again. So I've never like, I think that's maybe happened to me like 2 or 3 times, but it's such a terrifying thing that I think about it every time I come through here. So this segment looks really cool though, and it's delivered really well thematically within the game. You just watch BT die this like very visceral death, and then you're given this gun that just like one-shots everybody and aims for you, and you just fly through here and shred people.
I'm
It's really
angry.
cool.
I'm going to now kill everyone with one click.
It'll
Yeah,
be
and this-
very fierce click though.
Yes, the fiercest. This route through this outside segment is a little bit tricky. There are a lot of enemy drones on the other side, and the drones shoot these projectiles that can slow you down a lot. So getting through there without taking too much damage is awesome. And now we're good. So we have BT's data core here. That's the thing that contains all of his AI and personality and everything. So we're able to install that on another Titan of the same class, fortunately, and BT's back. And we can skip having to talk to BT here by walking around behind him and just embarking for some reason. Just gives a bunch of dialogue, which is nice. And once we get here, we're gonna try to build up core again. And again, we build up core by dealing damage as quickly as possible. So we want to deal a bunch of damage and then get core and then use Ronin's sword core ability to dash through this next segment. And at the end of the segment, we have probably one of the most important skips that's ever been found for Titanfall 2. It's not obscenely difficult, but it is really important. The end of this game used to be super duper random, where there's going to be this door at the end here where you'd have to clear a bunch of Titans for the door to open, but there was like a random event that could happen where a Titan would walk backwards into the door and open it automatically. And the difference between this happening and not happening was about 2 or 3 minutes. But thanks to the efforts of an angry albino, Enderon, we were able to find a way to actually skip through the door, and more recently a runner by the name of Gliding Shadow figured out that you can probably just fly through the top. So that's pretty nice. So that's a super important skip that saves like minutes. We're very happy to have it, that's for sure.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, there's a risk of death in this last segment here because these enemies at the end all have rocket launchers. So you got to be very careful getting through there with 1 HP. Definitely a little bit spooky. You can counteract that by shooting it most of the time, but you can still take an errant shot or two. And now we're on to the final boss fight of the game. This is Sloan Fight, and so Sloan Fight is difficult in its own way as well. It's broken up into 3 different phases, and we have to get Sloan to a certain health level before she'll disappear and trigger the next phase. It's not possible to kill her outside of the final phase. Even if you get your health down to 0, she will always just teleport away. So there's a lot of core management and combat management happening right here.
You know what I see when I look at you? Part of easy money.
Bring up stage 1.
And so spawn manipulation is going to be in play here as well. Yeah, so you can. So Game On was looking down to the left there, and that just forced those Titans to spawn right there. And that using Scorched and Core there makes it really, really convenient to clear them as quickly as possible. And he's looking in this one spot to get Sloan to spawn here as well. And after this, we have one more phase, and then we'll actually be able to kill Sloan, thankfully. Sloan does a ton of damage, especially when she uses her big laser. So managing your health is another thing you have to keep in mind here as well. It's definitely dying here is very real, and it's something that happens quite a lot.
Okay.
Is she gonna die? Are you gonna die? There we go. Okay, cool. So there's a very, very, very cool glitch coming up here. So we had Sword Core active right here, and if you activate Sword Core before pulling off this arc injector, we don't know why this happens, but it actually you actually have a weapon out when you get to this sequence right here. So this isn't intended, and this only works if you use Sword Core before you pull the arc injector. This is like it's super absurd that this doesn't crash the game. So you have your weapon out here, and it transfers over to the next segment when BT's active again.
This is not supposed to happen.
No. So Blisk is about to get out of his Titan and deliver his final big monologue. But we have our gun out right now, and so Blisk is just gonna die. He just goes like pop. And that's it. And what happens is the game instantly skips all 33 seconds of his dialogue and progresses the game state. This was like amazing when this was found. So this was found by a Reddit user, Shot Andy, who just posted to the Titanfall subreddit and said, "Hey, I found a way to kill Bliss." Somebody alerted me to it on my stream, and then we went and like investigated it, and we found out that this happened. So this is pretty incredible. It's like one of the best skips of any game that you really just have to see to believe. The invisible Bliss gets put back in his Titan, and there's like this, and BT has 4 arms, and everything is super weird. This is like one of the best skips in any speedrun, I swear to heck.
It's also really impressive given that there's a lot of skips you guys have found that does crash the game, and
yes,
like you would expect this to crash the game, but it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's a miracle that this works. I don't understand. So. What we always have to say is we've just made Apex Legends non-canon, so you're welcome.
So, coming up here is the final stretch of the game. Time will end when I lose control of Jack. I will try to do a countdown. So,
we got a way out of this one, BT.
Couple shout outs. Number 1, Brian Arlo, thank you so much for helping me with this. I could not have done this without you.
Dude, for sure. I love commentating, and I'm happy to help you out. Congrats on your first marathon run too. This has gone really well.
So yeah, BT, this is huge emotional sacrifice. I like almost cried the first time I saw this. Look around. And thank you to GDQ again for allowing Titanfall to be here and for this to happen. Oh gosh. That's not a good start.
Hey, you just have more time for shoutouts, so it's fine.
I don't think I have any more though.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so we've been wanting GDQ or Titanfall to appear on Hotfix for a long time, so we definitely appreciate the opportunity. And if you guys have enjoyed this run and are interested in watching the game, we do have a Discord that you can join. You can go to speedrun.com/Titanfall_2. You will find all of the resources you could ever need on that page. We have the best run of resources in speedrunning. I say that with a lot of pride, and we look forward to seeing you guys there. And Game On, thanks for running this, man.
Just want to be like you. Okay, time is in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time.
Nice, dude. Very nicely done. And you came in under estimate as well, so good stuff.
What time did I get?
A 1:34.46, and that's RTA.
I will gladly take that.
Saying that with enthusiasm, I will gladly take that. Nice, dude. And so, I know that we have Kizaron and J-Hobbs waiting to bring up the next segment, so I think we want to get to that pretty quickly, if I remember correctly. So, any final words, Game On?
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you again for letting this happen, and I think that's it.
If you want to watch Game On do this on a regular basis, follow him at twitch.tv/GameOn_18. I hope you guys enjoy watching two people learn this game now. Yeah.
All right. I want to say thanks again to Game On for coming on and doing that run. And of course to Mario for coming along and doing great commentary. Thank you both. It was a great show.
Thank you so much, Rail.
Just as a quick reminder, games list for October comes out on the 6th, or for Awesome Games Done Quick comes out on the 6th. Find information about registration for HDQ at gamesdonequick.com. But yeah, definitely stay tuned. We're going to be switching over to the first step. The stream might go down for a second, but stick around. It'll be right back with those guys, and we'll be